Hi friends, so this week we have talked about bar graphs, we have talked about picture graphs, how to read them and how to make them. So today we're going to dig in deeper to bar graphs and we are going to learn how to make our own bar graphs with data that they have already provided for us. So we'll watch a quick little video, we'll do some together, and then I will send you off on your own. So here we go.
How do you make a bar graph? Think about this question during the lesson. Greg made a table to show the amount of money he saved each month. Use the data in the table to make a bar graph on grid paper. A bar graph can make it easy to compare data. First, write a title for the bar graph. What should the title be?
So
select your answer.
When we are coming up with a title, a lot of times they already give us a table with information. So we can always just look at the table and see what the title is to help us. Later on, you might have to come up with your own title, but for now we have that resource to help us. So on the table, it has amount Greg saved each month. So do we agree that would be a good title for our bar graph? Yeah. Nice job.
The title of the bar graph should be Amount Greg Saved Each Month. Choose the scale. Decide how many units each grid line will represent.
So when we
What does a scale in a bar graph mean?
So let's look at it.
A scale shows the units used.
They are showing us the units used here, right? So what are they counting by? If you start at 0, you can see a pattern. So think about that for our scale. Think about what the scale would be as we watch some more of the video.
Used in the bar graph. What units are used in this bar graph?
Do you have an idea? What are they counting by? Let's see.
Each grid line represents $10. Set up the graph with the scale, each month listed in the table, and labels. Then draw a bar for each month. Why is it important that the label to the left of the scale numbers be there?
So why is it important to have a label? If we covered that part up and we just saw 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70, we might not necessarily know what those numbers stand for. So the title helps us a little bit getting that idea, but the labels on the sides also help us get a better idea of what information is being collected and displayed on our graphs.
It tells what the numbers stand for. What are the labels for the categories and where do they come from?
So if we look down at our label here, we have month. So we know the months are what? And we can also look on our table to help us. We've got January, February, March, and April.
The labels for the categories are January, February, March, and April. They come from the month column in the table. How do you know how long to draw each bar?
So again, we go back to the table. That's why the table is so important. We know what to draw because we look at the amount saved, because that's what we're graphing, because that's the title, right? And that's how we know. So if we look at January, it's 25. Well, if it counts by tens, we know half of 10 is what? It's 5. So 25 would be in between the 20 and the 30.
Each grid line represents $10. Look in the amount saved column in the table for each amount. You now can make a bar graph from information contained in a table. During which month did Greg save the most money? Try finding the answer yourself.
So do you know which month did Greg save the most money? take a minute and think about it. We've got our table, which our little guy's covering a little bit of the months. But if we look down here at the months, which graph, which bar is the tallest? It's March, right? So in March, we know if we go across, it's in between the 60 and the 70. So we know in March, he saved $65. Okay? All right, so I would like you to get your topic 1 math book out and please turn to page 262 and 263. And we are going to work on that together. And like always, 2 times of sharing. All right, here we go. So you should have 262 and 263. I am going to do 4 of the problems with you, and then I'm going to send you off on your own. We do have a discussion post today, so please make sure you are paying attention and following along with me so that you know how to do it on your own, okay? So we are going to use the information, the same information we used from the video, the data and the bar graph for our first couple questions. So number 1 says, explain why the bar for January ends between 20 and 30. So if we look at January, why is January between 20 and 30? What do you think? Well, we should know that in January, our friend Greg saved $25. And we know that 25 is in between 20 and 30. So explain why the bar for January ends between 20 and 30. It ends there because $25 is in between 20 and 30 on the graph. Okay? All right, let's look at number 2. So this one says suppose. So this means it's not on our graph. We have to think about it and visualize. Suppose Greg saved $35 in May. Okay, well, we can add that. Let's add one more to our graph. So see how I'm just extending it a little bit? And we have a new month. We have May. And it says, suppose that they earned 35. He earned or saved $35. So if we look over here, where's 35 going to be? Well, we know 25 was in between 20 and 30. So what's 35 going to be in between? Go ahead and draw that now. So 35 would be in between 30 and 40. It would be in between right here. So I'm going to kind of draw it across like this and shade it in. And we know it's pretty close to 40 here. April's 40, okay? So it's in between, so it might be a little bit lower, okay? So which grid lines would the bar for May end? Which grid lines would it end at? And like we said, between 30 and 40. Okay, in between the 30 and the 40. How can you tell how much more Greg saved in February? All right, here's February. Than in April. How can you tell? Well, we can look at the numbers. We've got 50 And if we look for April, we've got 40. But we can also use those grid lines, guys. We know each grid line counts by what? 10, 20. It counts by tens, right? So if I look at April, April is one grid line lower than February. So how can you tell how much more Greg saved in February than in April? I can look at the grid lines. It is $10 more. Okay? So you can look at the height kind of to help you too. So the grid lines and the height. All right, so let's go ahead and we can be done with 262. So let's go ahead and look at number 4. They give us the table and they want us to complete the graph. So they've already given us our title. That's the first thing we want to do. Number of people signed up for classes. Then we also want to think about our scale and our grid lines. If you look here, what's the pattern? What are you noticing they're counting by? They're counting by ones, right? And we don't know, if we covered this up, we're not really sure what those numbers stand for. But if we look on our table, those numbers stand for the number of people. So that would be our step 2, okay? So number of people signed up for classes, that's the title. Then we've got our scale and our grid lines and our title or our label for the side. We also need to look down at the bottom, the classes, right? So those are the orders that you should look at and also that you should use when you're making your own bar graph. First the title, then the scale, then what's being surveyed, what are the options, all right? So let's look at chess. Chess is our first one. So for chess, we know there were 6 people. So we're gonna go all the way up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and draw our bar. For guitar, we know it was 10. So we're going to go all the way up to the 10th grid line, right? What about painting? Where are we going to put painting to? All the way up to the 7. And then you go ahead and do the writing, and then you'll check it with me in a minute. All right, so for writing, we see there's 9. So we know writing should be right underneath guitar because we know guitar had 10. Okay, so that, my friends, is how you look at a bar graph, answer questions, and how you make your own bar graph. So now I'm going to send you off on your own. You are going to do number 5 by yourself. You are going to do number 6 by yourself. So this one, you're going to have to make the whole thing. So we want to make sure that what? We have a title. Okay. We want to make sure that over here, let's kind of make it together. Over here, we want to make sure we have, so go ahead and make a box. You're going to want to make sure you have your grid lines, right? So I'm going to just set you up a little bit. Okay, we're going to want to make sure we have our scale over here. So you're going to have to look at your numbers to figure out your scale. And you're also going to have to come up with a label for this. So remember, that's number 2. Down here, step number 3, we want to make sure we have, just like over here on our bar graph, how we have what is being surveyed. Okay, so make sure you are using your table to help you. And then the 4th thing would be to make your bars, right? You're going to go ahead and do 7. You're going to do 8. You do not have to do 9, but you will also do number 10. Okay? Your discussion posts for today are 7 and 8. Put a star by those now. All right, guys, have fun doing your bar graphs, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.